Welcome back, and as promised, a very important person who can prep us up for the earnings season, Gautam Dugar, Head of Research for Institutional Equities at Motilal Oswal Financial Services. Good morning, Gautam. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm going to start by reading out a WhatsApp exchange we had in mid-February. I was collecting the Nifty forward, Nifty earnings growth, and I asked you, Gautam, are you standing at 536 for FY21? And you said, Lata, that number is 4 days old. It is not 536, it is 542. So, you were increasing your earnings forecast by the day, by the week. Now, have you had to trim them because of this unexpected March and April surge?
Good morning, Lata. No, I won't call it trimming. It's just about tinkering. It now stands at 533 rupees. So, and there is a marginal increase, 0.5% here or there for FY22 and 23. So you can say estimates are more stable this time around. We will end, if our estimates are delivered, we will end FY21 with an earnings growth of 13%, which will be the highest in a decade, right? A year back, I was thinking if FY20 estimates get delivered in FY22, we will be lucky. And here we are 1 year later, where FY21 itself is 13% higher. And FY22, the expectations is 30% plus. So things have changed, and how? So 13% is a very good growth, especially in a year where we have seen a lot of challenges, and your nominal GDP itself is expected to go down by 4%. So this is a very strong and healthy performance, I would say, as far as Nifty is concerned for FY21.
Okay, Gautam, good morning. Let's start with some, individual sectors. What's the kind of earnings you are expecting from metals? Because, this is a massive surge. The index itself is up 40% this year.
Yeah. So, Anuj, metals has seen a massive earnings upgrades also in the last 4 or 5 months. We have upgraded earnings by, I think, 40-50%, 5-6 times. My analyst would have upgraded the earnings of all metal stock. More importantly, from those who like, talking about statistics, this quarter, metals will deliver the highest ever absolute profit, and it will be the highest sectoral profit also in our coverage universe. It will be higher than IT, higher than even oil and gas. The last time metals delivered higher profits in absolute terms than IT was in June 2012. And last time metals delivered higher profit than oil and gas was in December 2014. So it's in a crazy momentum right now as far as underlying commodity prices are concerned. More importantly, because of this strong realization, you're able to also deleverage the balance sheet, which we have seen for 2 quarters in a row now, whether it is JSPL or SEL or a TISCO or a Hindalco, all of them have deleveraged. And I think this deleveraging can continue going forward as well into the next 6 months, because your exit prices are still higher than your average prices for the quarter. So there still exists a room for further upgrade. In fact, if I go by our models, the assumptions that are built into the models right now are 5 to 10% lower than spot prices. So there is enough cushion even at these elevated levels. Just that the stock prices have had a fantastic run. You're talking about JSW Steel, which was 132 rupees at the bottom I think a year back. Today it is 600 rupees stock. So clearly prices are also factoring in a lot of this upsurge.
Okay. Gautam, hi, good morning. I was going through your strategy report and very interesting bunch of stocks, especially in the mid-cap space. You like some of these NBFCs that cater to the auto sector like Cholamandalam Finance. They have been hitting new highs. Is it still worth a buy here? And is it only these NBFCs, or do you like the automakers as well, the likes of Ashok Leyland, etc.?
Sonia, as far as automakers are concerned, our bias is more towards cyclicals. If you look at my auto stocks in the model portfolio, they are both cyclicals, M&M and Ashok Leyland. In fact, we had taken a call in July and made both Maruti as well as Eicher zero in our model portfolio. That call so far has worked well. And M&M obviously we know has done reasonably well. We expect higher ROE to reflect in further re-rating in that stock. And Tractor has been on a phenomenal run for the last 15-18 months. So that is as far as OEMs are concerned. As far as NBFCs are concerned, we are very selective. So if you see our preferences in NBFC, you will find an HDFC. You will find a Chola. That's about it. So those are 2 or 3 stocks. Of course, we also like Muthoot, but Muthoot has had a good run as well. Chola, we see more improvement going forward in disbursement as well as the AUM growth. And more importantly, they are overprovided for any imaginable asset quality stress. So their PCR ratios are well taken care of. And that is what keeps us positive on Chola.
Okay. No, I take a point. Chola is a strong NBFC, but I mean, of the mid caps that you have on your list, NBFCs, Chola is the strongest. Did you have to change the earnings forecast for any of the other NBFCs because they lend to the vulnerable segments?
In fact, Lata, this quarter we haven't had much change in NBFC estimates. In fact, you can say they are almost identical to what we had 2 months back when we did our third quarter review. So not much change, honestly, as far as earnings estimates are concerned for NBFC. But clearly, things are again turning a little fluid if you look at the environment, and therefore one has to remain very open on where these earnings can go, because if there are lockdowns which are getting imposed, restrictions which are getting imposed, I'm sure at some point of time consumer sentiment will also react to this. And unless, we don't see big national lockdowns, then there should be no impact on earnings. But these are things which are still evolving every alternate day, every day. In fact, nowadays we are seeing some of the other city or state announcing some sort of a restrictions. And, auto is a very discretionary sector end of the day. It's not an essential. So people can definitely postpone their buying decisions by a couple of months. We have to remain very vigilant about some of these names which are dependent on two factors, macro as well as consumer sentiment.
I asked you whether you're worried about any of the NBFCs. Now to the sector that is the bellwether of the earnings season itself, IT. Have you upped your forecast recently, and what is your pecking order?
Yeah, so IT is a sector which we have liked a whole lot in the last 2 years. We are running a 300 bips overweight on IT since last 12-15 months, and we are continuing with that. In fact, we topped up our IT allocation further this quarter by adding an interesting mid-cap name, L&T Technology. Aside of that, we have preference towards Infosys, TCS, and HCL Tech. As far as earnings are concerned, no, we haven't changed earnings much this preview. But yes, IT is one sector which has seen 3 consecutive quarters of earnings upgrade, starting right from the first quarter FY21 all the way to December. And we will see whether we have to upgrade again after this earnings season. But it's in a fantastic momentum. If you look at deal sizes, commentary from Accenture, ISG, Gartner, in fact, IT companies themselves. And clearly they're sitting on a truckload of cash, which they are paying out. So that is also keeping the capital ratios very efficient. And it has helped them re-rate. In fact, between FY16 to 20, their capital payouts have seen a 26% CAGR, despite just about 5 or 6% cumulative earnings growth of the top 5 IT companies. So I remain very positive on IT even for FY22. I think margins will remain far more resilient than what a lot of people are thinking right now. Clearly, travel is not going to come back, so that will also aid the margins for IT. Of course, there is a good headache of fight for talent, which is leading to wage hikes, which obviously works quite well for the economy. But yes, even if there is a 30-40 bps of sequential margin headwind, I think that should not be a cause of worry.
Okay, Gautam, one sector which has made a big move, and it's it doesn't get noticed as much as some of the others, is cement, especially names like Shree Cement and Ultratech Cement, the 2 biggest players. What's the call here in terms of earnings, and what are your preferred picks?
Cement is our most preferred cyclical sector after BFSI. We have a double overweight on cement. We like names like Ultratech. We have mid-cap allocation to JK Cement, which has been continuing for more than a year. Both of these stocks have done well. In fact, Anuj, on cement, what is happening is you're seeing decent price, cement price realization. One keeps hearing news about 15-20 rupees per bag increase here and there. I think whatever price increases that have happened in cement so far, they've taken care of the input price inflation plus some of the logistics costs which would have gone up and Petco. More importantly, we are expecting an 11% volume growth for our coverage universe in cement this quarter. Plus, as with metals, even cement has seen massive deleveraging. If you look at the cash flows and balance sheet, in the last 9 months, free cash flows have gone up by 150%. Leverage has come up by 30%. So both of that, all of that put together, good P&L, decent balance sheet, and strong cash flows has helped them. And I think as we keep talking about cyclicals reviving, government spending on capex, housing program, and all of that, I think this is one sector where one should keep a very strong eye on. We are still positive on cement. In fact, as I said, this is the most preferred cyclical bet for us.
Okay. The other space which has done exceptionally well, Gautam, is this whole API manufacturing plays, right? I mean, we've had some great moves in names like Laurus Labs, Newland Labs, but within that space, you like Divi's Laboratories and Gland Pharma in the mid caps. What is the story? I mean, of course, for Divi's we know, but what is the story with Gland and what kind of potential do you see here?
So, Sonia, for both the companies, the underlying business is very robust, whether it is from a compliance perspective, whether it is from an opportunity perspective in API. We have spoken in the past also. Everyone is aware about the API story plus CRAMS. So I think the horizon ahead looks very strong. Plus the compliance track record is good. And the quality of management is also quite strong. And all of that put together is resulting into pretty strong earnings growth even ahead. Last year, that is, I'm talking about FY21, entire pharma did well on earnings after 5 years of no growth. We've seen pharma delivering close to 50% earnings. Obviously, things will normalize a little bit, but it will still very healthy. At an aggregate level, if we are expecting 17% pharma earnings growth in FY22, there's still 5-6 companies which are expected to deliver more than 30% earnings growth. And therefore, that is what is driving our preference for these two names, not just from a one-year perspective, but also from a slightly medium-term perspective, given the well-established track record on multiple fronts that these two companies have.
Okay, one jargon clarification. In your report, when you're giving us the profit growth for the quarter ended March 21, you say metals, the profit growth is going to be 297% YOY, staffing 133%, retail 114%. What is LP for auto and media?
Basically means the sector is turning from loss to profit. So for auto last year in March 20, there was a loss. And even for metals, Lata, just to clarify that point, for every sector in March 21, when you look at earnings, they will look fabulous because March 20 was a distorted quarter because of lockdown. So what we've done is we've also looked at 2-year CAGR because that takes care of the March 20 distortion. So March 19 to March 21, 2-year CAGR for Nifty is about 14%. And for our broader coverage universe, it is 16%. So whichever way you look, it's looking quite good. Even versus December 20, there is a 6-7% earnings growth in March 21 for MOSL coverage universe and also for Nifty.
Okay. Well, I'm sure Anuj and Sonia have more earnings questions for you. But I have a selection question. If I looked at your top picks, there is, the mid caps are maybe about 20% more than the large caps. But if you looked at the stock performance, which Anuj was explaining very well earlier in the morning, the mid caps and the small caps have far outperformed the Nifty year to date. Would you want to stack up on the mid caps, or why have you not given outsized importance to mid caps?
In fact, Lata, if I look at my own mid-cap portfolio over the last 2 years, or even last 1 year, number of mid-caps in our model portfolio has just gone up. Even in this quarter, we have introduced 4 new mid-caps. L&T Technology, Gland, Whirlpool, Gujarat Gas, they are the new introductions. We already had JK Cement, IEX, Varun Beverages. We've added Federal Bank as well now after the massive correction that it has seen. So end of the day, we had to also maintain the balance because it's very easy to get carried away when mid-caps rally. But over a long period of time, we have seen that after a couple of years of very strong outperformance, they languish. So therefore, I don't want to tilt the bucket too much in favor of one market cap sizes rather than, or I prefer to maintain that balance between large cap and mid caps. And it's not that Nifty is not delivering good earnings. So Nifty itself is delivering 30% plus earnings. So we have that balance across sectors in our model portfolio between a large cap and mid cap. But on its own, the number of mid caps in the portfolio have gone up by a count of at least 3 to 4 more mid caps now.
Okay, Gautam, what about specialty chemicals? Do you have some of the stocks under coverage? Any thoughts on how to play this cycle now?
This is a very interesting space, Anuj. As all of us know, in the last 2 or 3 years, stocks have become multi-baggers and earnings have also been multifold. There's a very strong macro argument which has been going on in favor of specialty chemicals. You've seen how China's story has played out for specialty chemicals. More importantly, Indian managements have done a fantastic job of augmenting their capacities and partaking in this opportunity and delivering growth year after year. Last 5 years, earnings CAGR is very strong for this space. Unfortunately, we don't cover a whole lot of specialty chemicals, especially the mid caps. We have coverage on PI, we have coverage on SRF, both of which we like and both of which has delivered very strong returns, outsized returns, I would say. So therefore, there is a room for some bit of caution here because we are not starting this journey at a PE of 15, which was the case 5 years back. Now you're talking about PE ratios upwards of 30 for mid-cap companies in specialty chemicals basket. So you have to be extremely selective while you go for it, even though macro looks extremely strong even now for this space. So yeah, I mean, but we don't have too much of coverage in that space right now. We are constrained there.
Okay. So many more questions for you, but I do want to ask you about SBI Cards, which has been one of your favorite stocks for a while. Now with increased lockdowns, more restrictions, people sitting at home, do you think online spending will go up, and that would mean, more business for some of these players like SBI Cards? And, what kind of opportunity do you see here?
No, so Sonia, clearly this is a very good short-term boost that the entire digitization team has gotten, The digital payments have exploded over the last 15, 18 months, and it has been on the rise post demonetization. What we like specifically about SBI Card, and slightly from a longer term perspective, is the delivery of very strong return ratios. 27, 28% is the average ROE. Going forward, we are expecting more than 45% earnings compounding over the next 2 years. The track record of past 5 years is very strong. Customer acquisition rate has been phenomenal for SBI Cards. They've gained market share in the last 3 years, last 5 years. And stock is corrected now, at least I think 15, 20% from the top. So I think this is a very good entry opportunity. We remain very positive here because the long-term trends on digitization and online payments are looking very, very strong to us. And this is one of the best vehicle to play that theme.
No Adani stocks?
No, we as of now have no coverage there, so can't include that in the model portfolio.
Okay. Now, I again want to ask you something away from earnings. While you have given us this impressive number, like I read out, metals earnings growth YOY 297%, staffing 133%, retail 114%, PSU banks 110%, private banks 109%. Where is the price already discounting this? Where do you still see a price value gap?
I don't see much of price value gap, honestly. Where there is a price value gap, it has existed forever, which is sectors like utilities, PSU banks. There always is a price value gap there. They have always been touted as value plays. But in the mainstream sectors, you're seeing very little comfort on valuations because we're talking about 21 times when you're forward for Nifty itself. And there are sectors like consumer, which are still trading at 45, 50 times. At a 25 to 30% premium to their own long-term averages. Auto has seen a massive run-up. I would say there is some room for expansion in the BFSI space, specifically the private banks and NBFCs. I'm not saying there are value plays, but when you look at the earnings story ahead and the average valuation and standard deviation, those kind of things, it does look like the large cap private sector banks and SBI still offer a room for a decent, money-making opportunity. Aside of that, very little comfort on valuations right now. We'll have to see how earnings come up because now you're trading at 21 times on elevated earnings expectations. So if there is any downside earnings risks in any sector, then obviously you will see some correction and some bridging of gap between price and value. Today we see one of the sectors where there is a room for earnings downgrade, I would think is auto. That is one sector where I'm a little more cautious as far as earnings are concerned. I think the recent commodity price inflation and this whole lockdown related measures and restriction that can have a headwind for this sector in the short term.
I'm sure Sonia is going to have more questions on that for you, Gautam. My question was more on, again, mid-cap, small-cap. Another outsized performer has been this, what you can call digitalization stocks as distinct from IT. Affle India, Happiest Minds, those kinds of stocks. Nazara, of course, listed recently. You've not sweetened your portfolio with any of that. A staid investor like Aberdeen yesterday told us that he has Affle India and Nazara. You're as staid an investor as that. You don't fancy these?
No, we did fancy. We had India Mart. We had initiated it at 3,000 rupees in August, introduced it in the model portfolio. Unfortunately, we exited too soon when the stock doubled. We, I think, removed it at 6,500. And stock has rallied another 30% from there. Honestly, Lata, when we look at this new age fancy names, one of the problem that I find sometimes is the track record on earnings and track record on profitability. While the story always look good, somehow I'm more biased towards companies which have a very strong track record on earnings already in the bag. rather than just stories about future. I am not denying that these are great companies and they have great opportunities. We will have to cover some of them. Right now, our coverage is on InfoEdge, IndiaMart. Aside of that, we don't have coverage in that basket. Very broad coverage in that basket. And as I said, in IndiaMart, we entered and exited a little early. With the advantage of hindsight, one can say we should not have done that. But so be it. We will see how things evolve from here. A lot of new listings going to happen in CY21 as well. We'll have to keep our eyes open on that. But yeah, the company has to merit a place in the portfolio on the basis of its earnings track record as well.
Okay, I'm glad you spoke about the impending new listings, because I wanted to talk about, this whole space. NSE is expected to list very soon, perhaps this year, next year. And within that space, you like IEX. Now, I was looking at IEX's performance as well, the highest ever yearly electricity volumes. That was a 37% growth is what it achieved. Do you think that there is this unexplored potential here within these exchanges, IEX, MCX, the unlisted NSE?
Yeah, Sonia, perfect. IEX has had a tremendous run. Their market share is dominant. The new product launches have done very well. And at the same time, concurrently, we have seen power demand also picked up in the last 7 or 8 months. They've closed March very strong. So while stock has run up, valuations are also not as cheap as 6 months back when we had initiated. But I think the story ahead looks very strong on both earnings and underlying power demand. So that is one name where we are staying bullish. NSE obviously has a very dominant business model. They will have a lot of cash flows to return to the investors. So we will see as and when it lists how to look at that name. But clearly, some of these franchises are very dominant. There's hardly any competition in that space. The market shares are upwards of 90-95% in some of the cases. The new launches that keeps on happening on the exchanges front, whatever new products that they introduce, all of that provides a long runway for growth ahead. So this is a very interesting space, which is why we have not taken out IEX from the model portfolio despite a very strong run already. Because we think that the path ahead for next 3-5 years is even stronger.
Okay, Gautam, what about a stock like Bharti Airtel? It's sort of testing people's patience. Of course, it's recovered quite a bit from the lows, but every time it goes towards 600, there's selling pressure. Your view on the stock?
Telecom stock we like, because there hardly anything to play there, barring Jio and Telecom, Jio and Bharti. So, see, what has happened, Anuj, in this sector is the hope for price hikes have remained just in the Excel sheets. They've not transpired in real life. So we are still waiting for price hikes. We're still waiting for deleveraging to happen because this sector suffers from huge debt. And that's not a good thing because we've seen whenever deleveraging happens, the value transfer from debt to equity is ferocious. That we have seen play out in metals, that we've seen play out in cement. We're waiting for that to happen in telecom. But at a moment, it looks like the capex intensity, deleveraging, and absence of pricing is keeping the investors a little more circumspect out here. Plus, subscriber addition has also been very mixed off late, honestly. So while Bharti remains the best available play on that sector, one will have to see how earnings transpire because even now in this quarter also, we are just hoping for some marginal profits to come in. The sector has not delivered profits for last, I think, 24 quarters now.
Okay. Well, Gautam Dugar, it was a pleasure listening to you, and I can assure you that you have prepared us and our viewers very well for the upcoming earnings season. Thank you for joining us. Well, we need to take a break on that note, but stay